Hello again to everyone who joined us. Now we're doing a quick round of introductions in the chat. So if you want to tell us where you're joining us from today, that will be great as we start the webinar. Thank you so much for registering and thank you for your interest. We're going to have a very interesting discussion today. And so we will officially start our webinar and hopefully others will join us along the way. So welcome all to the Youth Engagement COP webinar titled Youth and Technology, Capitalizing on Web-Based Solutions to Develop Resilient Young Leaders. Next slide, please, Catherine. So my name is Balqis. As I said, I'm the co-champion of the Youth Engagement COP, and I'm basically going to be leading with my
Hi, everyone. My name is Justine. I am the advisor of youth and inclusion at Making Sense International. I also have the privilege of working with Balqis on the community of practice on youth engagement. So her and I will be co-leading this webinar. So we're all very excited to have this opportunity to speak with you, have a really engaging session, and hopefully we all get to learn some skills.
So the agenda for today, we've gone over the welcome and introductions. We got to know Justine. She told us a bit about the housekeeping rules. We'll then do the speakers' presentation. So we have two amazing speakers from YouthMappers who walk us through their work. We're going to have an interactive mapping session, and then we'll have a Q&A where you'll be able to ask all of your questions. You can start putting them in the chat as the presenters are presenting, or you can just save them till the end and unmute yourself and ask them directly at the very end. Of course, then we'll be having closing remarks and reminders. Next slide, please. Great. So for those of you who are new to the COP, I know we have members who've joined us before, and I know we might have new members. So welcome to all of the new ones. The COP is part of Youth Power to Learning and Evaluation, YP2LE. It is a USAID-funded project and activity that deepens the integration of positive youth development evidence and best practices into youth programming, ensuring more sustainable change. Next slide, please, Catherine. Great. So our COP specifically focuses on youth engagement, and we focus on meaningful youth engagement in all aspects of youth programming. When you join our COP, and we'll tell you about how to do that at the end, so stay tuned for that. We expect the members of our COP to contribute to building a common sense of purpose, to share interests, ideas, needs, resources, and expertise, to engage respectfully on the Youth Power platforms and with other COPs and networks, to attend our quarterly virtual meetings, and this webinar is actually one of them, to participate in the discussion group, which is an open space to all of our COP members where they can share ideas, and to identify and engage in relevant opportunities in the learning network. So we have a few guiding principles. I won't talk a lot about them, but in general, we talk about fostering meaningful connection, to network engagement, to create and create practical resources, to weave inclusion into the fabric of the network, to ensure member agency and agility, and to empower champions to facilitate. Next slide, please. And with that, this is a bit of a background for our COP for those who want to sign up and join us. I'll now give it to Justine to take us through so she can tell us quickly about the theme of the webinar and introduce our first speaker.
Thanks so much for that. So this webinar, it is going to be a presentation of the work of YouthMappers, who are an incredible network that exists all over the world. This is the team that is based at Arizona State University. The goal is to understand how technology can be used to help create, help augment the work of young leaders, how you don't necessarily need super fancy tech in order to be community engagement. It's also going to be sharing some lessons learned from their program. And it's going to be a really interesting deep dive into almost using alternative technology for mapping your communities. So to kick it off, we are going to turn it over to Kate, who is a research specialist for knowledge exchange and resilience. She manages the knowledge exchange and resilience work on building heat resilience for mobile home residents. Her work focuses on researching how building environments can increase vulnerability to heat for different populations across the valley in Arizona, along with creating solutions to help mitigate that heat. So through her studies and work at the KER, Kate has co-published the Heat Solutions Guide that incorporates 50 solutions to mitigate the heat, and conducted a research examining heat resilience through the lens of housing, building environment, utility assistance, and policy making. She's a member of the YouthMappers community since 2018 and holds a BA in architecture and an MA in urban environmental planning. So we're going to turn it over to Kate.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here and present you our work. A little bit about us. So as Justine mentioned, I'm a part of YouthMappers movement, and I work at Knowledge Exchange for Resilience at Arizona State University. Our goal is to support Maricopa County, which is the biggest county in Arizona, by sharing knowledge, research, analysis, data, and to build solutions for overall community resilience. And a little bit about YouthMappers. And at the end of my part, I will tell you how you can join actually YouthMappers to do what we do and to foster some change resilience in your community. YouthMappers, this is the network of universities around the whole world with the mission to cultivate a generation of young leaders who create resilient communities. And the main goal there is we teach youth students how to map, how to create data. You don't need any special knowledge, and this is where many people start actually learning and make their career choices. Next one, please. So our focus is on heat. So the main reason is because heat is the deadliest hazard in the world. In the United States, every year we have more than 1,300 deaths from the heat, and this is the highest number of people who die from the natural hazard. And we have 3 states, Arizona, California, Texas, that are accounted for 43% of all heat-related deaths in the country, which is very high, very disproportionate. And since I located in Arizona and our research is located in Arizona, we are very concerned about heat, and this is why we are working on it. Next one. And when we started this research in 2018, the idea was to understand why there are so many heat deaths, why are so many people are dying from the heat, and how can we solve this problem. And when you think about the heat, like in the normal way, sometimes people assume that, oh, it's just the high temperature, it's just too hot, and that's why people are dying. But actually, you can see here that we built this chart where we compared the predicted heat deaths based on weather, meaning like on the temperature, and we adjusted it by actual heat death numbers. And we found out that predicted mortality estimates are not explained by weather patterns, which means people are dying not because it's just too hot, a temperature is too high and it's getting hotter, but people are dying just because there are other factors that make these high temperatures deadly to some people, to some population. So we started to look into these factors and how can we mitigate them. Next one. And we found out that we got the data from the health department of Maricopa County. We found out that historically around 30% of all heat-related deaths happen inside, which means inside homes most of the time, which is very surprising because when you think about the heat, your house is supposed to be your shelter where you can cool down, you can have an AC, where you can protect yourself from the heat exposure. And for 30% of population, this is not the case, which is very surprising. And we started to look into why is it happening? Is it some specific housing type? And what we found out that in the last 10 years, so no, it'll go back. 30% of all indoor heat-related deaths happened inside mobile homes and manufactured housing specifically. And mobile home manufactured housing, they take only 5% of all housing stock in Maricopa County, again, which is the biggest county in Arizona, but they account for 30% of indoor heat deaths every year. In some years, it's even higher as 40%. So which means that this population is extremely disproportionately affected by heat exposure, and there are way more people who live in mobile homes are dying from the heat inside their own homes than in any other building type and any other housing type. Next one, please. And so for this is a little bit of the background about what mobile homes are and how they look in Arizona. Mobile homes and manufactured housing, this is type of affordable housing that is produced and assembled in factories. And this is why it's affordable, because it's essentially cheaper than regular built and mortar housing, cheaper than any apartment. And the nature of this housing, that mobile homes and manufactured housing, they're usually part of special parks, mobile home parks. This is where things get interesting. The land of the park is owned by the landlord, some company, but the houses itself that inside mobile home, they most of the time owned by the residents, but residents still pay rent for their lot where their house are located in the park. And the park also is managed by property management, and this is essentially private property. And you can see on these pictures that these mobile homes, they look very different. Some of them, like on the picture on top, are very modern, very nice looking. Obviously, they have a better structure, but many of them were built in like 60s, 70s, as you can see in pictures below, and they are not very good construction. So these thin walls, not good insulation, it contributes significantly to the heat exposure and to the number of heat-related deaths. Next one, please. So we started to look into comparing data set to understand what's happening around mobile homes specifically, like what's the reason that people are so exposed to heat and why they're actually dying so much inside their own homes. So, and this is the map that shows our biggest discovery, and that's how we started actually mapping and creating data to understand this issue more. So here we compared the location of mobile home parks, these are big white dots, with location of indoor heat-related deaths, big red dots, and with recipients of utility assistance, which are yellow dots. Utility assistance, this is the program that usually helps people to pay their bills, to pay their bills so they can Here you can see the area in yellow in the middle, where we find out that there is the area in Maricopa County with a lot of mobile home parks and very high number of heat-related deaths, but with very small number of utility assistance. Next one, please. This means that more heat deaths, indoor-related heat deaths in mobile home parks happen in the parks, in the places without utility assistance. So where people they don't get utility assistance from the companies, meaning that they cannot pay their AC bills. So they basically don't use AC, temperature inside their homes are very high, and that's why they actually overheat and eventually die. Next one. And that's why we started to look into, and this is my particular focus on my work and my research, is on linking heat as the health hazard through the housing system. So sometimes when people look at the heat, there are different studies. They look at this like the racial inequality and other factors, but we actually look how the housing type, the housing structure contributes to high heat exposure and high heat-related deaths. So this is very new approach to understanding the impact of heat and climate change. Next one, please. And I like to ask this question when you look on the map, and I always like to ask, like, how many buildings, how many mobile homes can you see on this map? And can you go to the next one, please? And when we compare these to this satellite imagery, you will see that there are no any building on the map. But on the satellite imagery, which is the imagery from the of how the Earth look like, you will see that there are actually a lot of mobile home parks, and it's very alarming to see this overwhelming density of mobile home parks in RV that are not on the map. So if you open, like before in 2019, we opened like Google Maps and other maps that we usually use for navigation without satellite imagery, there was no buildings. And next one, please. And the problem is that when people are not on the map, when buildings are not on the map, this means that there is no data about them. No one knows that these people exist, that there's location exists, that could be some issues at those locations. So people essentially were hidden, and our goal became to put these people on the map, because naming them, put them on the map, and creating the data set will allow to do the further analysis and to provide these people with utility assistance and other solutions. And this is the screenshot of our mapping efforts, and all these red squares around buildings, this is how much data we created. And this is just little tiny part, one block in the city. And you can see how much data we created only in one block, how much buildings we decided to add. So how many of them? And can you go to next one, please? And this is the whole result of this mapping exercise that took us 3 months to map this little tiny area that we noticed before. And in this tiny area, it already was over 2,000 mobile homes and over 600 RVs. And this is the overall square footage of this is over 13,000 square kilometers. So this is a lot of buildings. And can you go to the next one? So to compare, this is how this map looked before we mapped. So basically no any building. And go to the next one, please. And this is how it looked after 3 months of our effort in 2018. This is how much data we added to the map, how much data we created, how many people we were able to add on the map. So we, and not only us, can do further research and provide some assistance to these people to do essentially heat mitigation for them. Next one, please. And we also noticed that thanks to our effort and thanks to our research, after 2018, there was a significant increase in using this specific tag in OpenStreetMap that we used to create this data set for the mobile homes, meaning that more people saw our work, and in other locations around the country, in the US, they started adding mobile homes on the map to help them build their heat resiliency and resilience to other climate changes in other regions. And next one, please. And what was the result of this effort? This data actually become very fundamental for our ongoing research that is still happening. So like, what is it, 5 years later, right? Because with this data, you can do a lot of things. You can calculate different percentage of impervious surface. You can calculate your different solutions. Next one, please. And we were able to create even heat mitigation solution guide that we distributed around all mobile homes residents. We built relationships with the city officials, with state officials. We did a lot of survey. So we actually started to implement those solutions. Next one, please. And we also tested some technical solutions inside mobile homes. You can see on the photo above that we tested the heat reflection film on the roofs. We did a lot of publications to spread the knowledge and motivate more people to research this issue. And next one, please. And Now we are actually on the pilot phase stage of our project, where we looking for the opportunities how to implement solutions. And as I said, there are many solutions before on the policy level, also on the building level. Our students, they also developing different alarm systems to notify residents when the temperature in the houses are too high, so they can get help. And next one, please. So just creating this big data set, it was the beginning of bigger efforts and bigger impact. And we use again OpenStreetMap and then MapSwipe. And my colleague is going to tell you more about the MapSwipe. And these are very powerful tools to create local microdata to help uncover missing insight and see where vulnerable people are, where they're falling between the gaps, and who are they, so you can come up with further solutions. And next one, please. And as I said, this was created with collaboration with YouthMappers community, and this is the collaboration of universities around the world, and there are chapters in many countries around the world, and you can join YouthMappers community, so you will get the training how to use OpenStreetMap, how to use MapSwipe. You can get in training in self-organizing, in creating chapter in your own community, and you will see how you can make the change, how you can create data in your community. And as I said, you don't need any specific skills. This is for the youth, and we literally had people who started using the laptop for the first time because they learned how to map. And can you go to the next slide, please? They started to learn how to map. This is very easy, and this was the start of career for many people. And how you can join YouthMappers community. Chapters application are accepted from student groups, so you actually need to be based in universities, but public-private schools are also okay as long as they are non-profit. The chapter should have one faculty member, and there should be only one chapter in one university. We do this so with the goal to students to mix and match. So we have students in one chapter in one university with different backgrounds. And this can be any existing student group if you have like any club, like geography club, or you can form a brand new group, just YouthMappers on the base of your university. And so as I said, there should be only one chapter, and you can go on this website, YouthMappers, and file your application. They will ask you to attach several forms to this, several documentations, and your application will be reviewed every 45 days. And this is very fun community because you will be connected with the youth all over the world. You will get the training. We also have conferences all over the world where you can join, and you will get a lot of background, and you will have real opportunity to make contribution and change in your own local community. And can you go to the next slide, please? Going back to our research, as I said, this is the area that we mapped in yellow, and this is only one part of Maricopa County. And you can see that there is the rest of the county and the state that still need to be mapped, because these people that are disproportionately are affected by heat exposure, they're still out there and there is no data about them. So we started to ask ourselves, how can we map the rest of the county faster? Because this little tiny square took us 3 months. So how can we do it faster? And this is when I will ask my colleague Maryam to present you how we did this using the MapSwipe, and to actually have an interactive session with you. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kate, for all of this very enriching information. We'll definitely be joining the YouthMappers. I'm very interested in that. And for our COP members or anyone who's joining us newly after this webinar, we'll also be posting a couple of links that are shared in the presentation. The presentation itself will be accessible to you. We'll be sharing with you a few key takeaways and insights from the call, all in our discussion forum. So make sure that you join that. And on this note, we'll be moving to the next speaker, who is Kate's colleague, Maryam Shakib, who is a PhD student in geography at the School of Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning. She's also a graduate research assistant at Arizona State University. She has the BA in architecture, an MA in urban design, and a master's in urban planning. So welcome, Maryam, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and have the chance to talk to you and introduce you the MapSwipe. Next slide, please. This is the strategy that we used for this project. We know that crowdsourced imagery offers great potential for identifying missing vulnerable communities on the map. So in this project, to get a bird's eye view on all of the mobile and manufactured homes across the state of Arizona, we have been teaming up with MapSwipe team to facilitate providing coordinated and efficient maps and data for mobile home communities. Next, please. MapSwipe is part of the Missing Maps project with large support from the British Red Cross, Hagit, Humanitarian, OSM team, and Doctors Without Borders. All of them are organizations, humanitarian organizations dominantly, that are trying to map around the world, particularly for vulnerable communities. And in this project, we evaluated how using MapSwipe crowdsourcing app impacts the mobile home communities' geospatial data. Next, please. But let's have a review on how does MapSwipe work. Just have a quick review on that. First, a project is requested by a community. What is that community? For example, imagine ourselves as Knowledge Exchange Resilience. Our research group identified that, recognize that there is a problem in mobile home communities. So what is the problem? There is a lack of databases for them. And their locations are not clear on data, on the documents of urban development, master plans, and other stuff. So we request MapSwipe from MapSwipe to identify and create a project on the app, and they use the imagery and tutorial to help the user to understand what to look for. And then at the end of the road, each set of imagery and task and micro tasks that created by the users in MapSwipe will produce kind of aggregated results. And then these aggregated results is a kind of database for us to do the cleaning up and validation and use them for data fusion at the end. Next, please. This is a mechanism of MapSwipe, in short. MapSwipe data define and prioritize hot tasking manager task. In the left picture, you could see the whole complete image, satellite image, and the green parts are the micro tasks that the users and contributors to MapSwipe have a kind of consensus on that. And normally, if I want to offer you a kind of level for that, is 30% consensus of the users about, yes, there is something in those tasks, or maybe there should be something, and then they convert it, they transform to the right picture that shows in blue. And these are the tasks that we just look into these blue tasks to identify and validate the accuracy of data. Next, please. So the MapSwipe support validation and help to keep the map up to date. This is the main mission of the MapSwipe. And it is, amazing and interesting and engaging, because it just takes about 10 minutes, and it's like it is a kind of gamification strategy behind that to attract people and engage the users to map. and while they contribute to the vulnerable communities. Next, please. So our method in this study includes 3 main steps: training, promotion, and validation. For the training step, we instilled MapSwipe users with divergent level of mapping skills with the knowledge required to identify mobile home communities on the satellite images through providing a specific tutorial on the app. And then we are in kind of moderating the users from the left and the humanitarian organizations that you could see on the right or at the end of this process. We trained the users first, we promoted, and then we validated and make the data available, reliable, and valid for to be used by humanitarian organizations to have kind of heat resilient solutions at the end. Next, please. This is the appearance of tutorial that I provided for this app. And to collect preliminary data to categorize the geospatial parameters of mobile home communities, because sometimes it is a little bit tricky to identify and recognize them amongst other land uses. In the context of Arizona, I reviewed the literature review, commercial websites, and satellite images to understand what are the nature of these communities and how they look like. And we categorized these geospatial attributes to include the most common aspects, including shape, size, orientation, density, and roof color. Next, please. And for the step of promotion that I just showed you in the 2 previous slides, we called for the participation of to get volunteers from 370 YouthMappers chapters with over 5,000 university student mappers across 72 countries. And the project progress graphs that we could see in the next slide shows that we have a kind of, if you see the graph on right, and you could see a kind of drastic increase. This is one this is exactly in the time of one of our YouthMappers campaign that it promoted, and you could see the increase of contribution that resulted in the increase of progress of the project. And on top, you could see the number of 744 is the number of contributors to this specific mission. Each of these dots that you could see on the map, the blue ones are the finished and completed missions, and the deep yellow is the ongoing mission. And each of these tasks are about 4,900 square kilometers, and this is about how we call for the participation. If I want to say a number, so far, for the 7 missions that we are completed so far, the project, the contributors range was between 700 to 1,000. 1,090 something contributors, and there is an increase in that, and we could see that, you know, the users are more engaging during the time. Next, please. This slide shows you the time frame of the project. So far, we have completed 7 out of 13 missions that prioritized for this project, and we completed them in 7.5 months. And based on this time frame, our anticipated time to wrap up all the sessions, all the missions, is October 2023. We already crossed the halfway point. So we are waiting for all the missions to be completed and see how they could contribute and added value to the missing communities, mobile home missing communities. Next, please. And this is an interesting result for us, and we really value that. So far, we've identified near 10,000 missing households living in mobile homes by MapSwipe. And this is interesting because based on the kind of triangulation and cross-checking with other existing data sources, this is just the exclusively contribution of MapSwipe to find missing households. And those are people who, are falling between the tracks of contribution, organizational, governmental, weatherization treatments, and other stuff. So this would be a great help for them, definitely. Next, please. Our methods include triangulation approach. What does it mean? It means that we have the results of MapSwipe from on the one side, and we have two other existing data sources. One of them is Homeland Infrastructure Foundation level data from Department of Homeland Security, and the other one is GRS, Geospatial Research and Solution data, that is a kind of open data available for mobile home communities from Arizona State University. And the last one is a combination of our research group, Knowledge Exchange for Resilience, and Arizona Association of Manufactured Home Owners, that we have some data available from them. And we did a kind of cross-checking between all these data sources to understand the current status of mobile homes and what we are looking for and what are the gaps. Next, please. Based on this triangulation and aggregated results that we had from MapSwipe results, we understand that MapSwipe is on top of other data sources. It identified 1,331 number of mobile home communities and ranked first, and it would be successful to identify 95% of all mobile homes. And this is really a significant result for that, as we see other data sources with 72 and 58% relatively. Next, please. And this slide shows just the exclusive, or we could maybe call it added value of each of these data sources. It means that, for example, 196 mobile homes are exclusively identified by MapSwipe. It means that GRS and Highfield were not able to identify them, and the story is the same for other data sources. And we could compare that again. The number of the amount of contribution of MapSwipe is on top. Next, please. This is the kind of a side effect or a byproduct of our method, that we understand that we could save a lot of time for mapping the the missing communities based on the area narrowed down by MapSwipe. As you see in the pictures, in these three pictures, each of them is one of the missions on MapSwipe. And the colored one, the yellow, blue, and the purple, are the geometries that they are the tasks that the users selected them. And as you could see, they are narrowed down the whole area, which is about 4,900 to about 10% of the whole area. So based on this narrow down, MapSwipe aggregated geometries would save many hours. It means that if we did the whole mapping process without the MapSwipe contribution, it would take us 10 times the amount of the working hours, and it would take about 7,000 hours in the absence of MapSwipe. And just for your information, each mission takes about 8 to 15 hours per mission to clean by an experienced mapper in the stage of validation. Next, please. This is a kind of, see the results at a glance. For 7 out of 13 missions so far completed, we identified 1,330 mobile home communities. It means 10,000 missing households, and MapSwipe contribution is in the middle. So next, please. But this is the interesting and engaging part of our conversation today. Join YouthMappers using MapSwipe to support heat resilience among mobile home communities. Next, please. The thing that we are going to do now is, after learning about the general appearance of the MapSwipe website, if Catherine could help me to open this link, you could see the, yes, this is the main page of MapSwipe application. And if you go on top right hand, and yes, please click data. By clicking data, you have access to, and scroll down, please. You have access to all the projects done by MapSwipe. It is not just mobile home, but for today, we are following mobile homes. You could understand the mission and the approach of MapSwipe and its contribution. And then if you scroll down, you could explore the data just up here in the interactive map on right hand. You could see the green dots. If you just press the control and scroll, you could, yes, and on the left, if you go to the left a little bit, drag it to the left. In Arizona, we could see some points there. These are our project. And as you see, few of them are completed, and we have an ongoing project that you could see the, please scroll down and click on the mapping mobile homes on the left picture. You could see the data of this project so far. Scroll down a little bit, that we could see so far we have 605 contributors, and these graphs on the right hand shows the progress of the project. And generally this is, and if I scroll down, I want to show you how to access the data, aggregated data. This is important because it's an open data, so you could just easily download all the data from here, all the results. And if you see in the bottom, hot tasking manager geometries is the one that we use, and we convert them to GIS. And this is the base for our cleaning up process. So please back to the presentation. And go next slide. Thank you. So here is our hands-on for today, how to start mapping by MapSwipe. I'm not sure if so far you've been able to download and install MapSwipe on your cell phones. If not, just search in your app store to find the front logo for MapSwipe. And I just reviewed this process because I have no idea how many of you were able to do that. But after opening the app and logging, you will see the page similar to the front image. Currently, there are 2 projects are active on MapSwipe. One of them is for mobile home projects, and this is the one that we are selected on top. So if you open that, then you will see a tutorial icon. Make sure to complete it first. It is, vital to complete it first to be equipped with the knowledge required to recognize mobile homes across other land uses. And now you're all set to start mapping. I ask you to cover these steps, and then I'm here and would be happy to answer any questions and really looking forward to see more contributions and see how the graph of project progress will drastically increase after our meeting today. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Maryam, for that great insight. Unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of time to do, the live mapping that we wanted to do, but you guys have the steps in front of you. We'll also share this. You'll see it in the presentation once you have it, and you'll know how to join YouthMappers and to start mapping. Thank you so much, Maryam and Kate, for your great presentation. And now we're going to open the floor for a Q&A. If you guys have any questions for either Kate or Maryam, you can either put it in the chat or raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question directly and tell us who that question is addressed to, or if it is only for both of them.
Thanks so much. And just looking at the chat, it appears that we have a few questions that came through. One question is regarding using the mapping solution. How would you suggest we improve on sustainable development, incorporating youth and technology?
Thank you so much for the question. So this is very broad question, and in our experience, my experience, sustainable development can consist of many directions, right? So I would just suggest to pick the direction that you want to move forward, otherwise climate change or education or something else, and just see and start looking into the issues that exist and think about like what kind of data or what kind of technical solutions would you need to answer questions that you have or to create solutions that you want to implement.
And I want to add to Kate's response to that, because I could see in the chat that it is specifically asked about youth sustainable development. And based on the slides that we reviewed, one of the main pillars of our method is training. So training and getting knowledge and being equipped to this knowledge is necessary, to be sustainable and learn sustainability solutions. Without that training, we could not, our focus is not just on data. Our focus is on the groups and engaging specifically the youth. And this is the next generation that they could convey this knowledge to the next generation. And this is an ongoing process that means sustainability for next generation as well. And in the upper, I could see that there is gender inequality and discrimination. As you see, again, this is one of the mission of open data. Open data means that it is accessible for all people, no matter what is the gender, what is the age, what is, the race, or other things. So it is open data. It is accessible to all the people. And be more specific for these communities, mobile home communities that are one of the, left behind communities. There are some discriminations for them if we consider urban development plans and zoning plans. And this is a way that we are looking for to back them to the map and back them to the ongoing process and see them more for the, policy making and decision making processes. So I think that, this is the main focus also.
Yes, and I can add that very good point about the knowledge and training, which again, you can get through joining YouthMappers. And this is again, international community consists of volunteers, and many people find their projects there and skills that they need to contribute to the sustainable development of their community. And it's all about youth.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that and for answering the question. We have about 2 minutes left if you guys have any other questions or maybe want to add something in the chat. All right, we have a question in the chat. So yeah, so we're asking, how could you clarify again, how could a group of youth with an adult leader from a certain community get involved in such an interesting project in case they would not be able to pair up with the university?
Well, the idea that it should be a university chapter or at least a school chapter, because it's always based on universities. So maybe you can find a group of students in the university and just form this chapter in the university along with other group of youth that is not from university.
And the other approach would be if you have, you're not teaming up with a specific university, but you have your community, you could just reach out to YouthMapper leaders and ask them to join you to the, nearby or existing groups. And if you have a specific project in mind that you think that, it's worth to define a new project for that, you could offer them to YouthMappers again, or even MapSwipe itself. You have the links of these two organizations, YouthMappers and MapSwipe. You could reach out to them. You could easily email them and, state your question, problem, or whatever to them, and then they will definitely follow up with you.
Great. Thank you so much for clarifying. And with that, if you guys don't have any questions, I think for the interest of time, we can wrap up our session and our webinar. Thank you so much again, Kate and Maryam, for the very insightful presentation. This has been really interesting, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of youth join the community afterwards. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in to our presentation today in our webinar. We're happy to see all of you here. A few reminders and coming up events to wrap up with. So as you know, the YP2LE network is very huge, and we have other COPs that are also conducting webinars that you can join. To know how to register and find details on that, you can go to youthpower.org events page. We have on the 18th, a webinar hosted by the Youth System Strengthening COP on lessons learned from measuring child and youth system change around the globe. And then on July 27, we have another webinar by Education Engagement and Transformation COP on climate change impact through higher education services in Egypt. So feel free to tune in, register for those and attend. And finally, this is the part that I talked about in the beginning. If you are a new member and you want to join our COP, it's a very easy process. You need to go to youthpower.org. The link is in the chat, and then you register, you create a profile, and you can connect and join any of the COPs that you're interested in. So once you have the profile, you go to the second step to connect, which is on top of the page. You can click on it and you'll see all the available COPs. So we have a gender COP, the higher education one, the MENA youth COP, the youth engagement COP, which is ours. And you join us and you'll be part of this network, and you'll have access to many more webinars coming up in the future. The discussion forum that we talked about, where a lot of youth share insights and resources. We'll also be posting the key takeaways, the recording of the webinar, the presentation that will be available for everyone. So make sure you join us, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, this has been super insightful. Thank you for joining. We'll see you all soon, and stay safe.
Thanks for everything, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.